Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of Wound Farce, where we review and discuss your and our favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern California Bay Area, world-famous juggler Greg Larson. How you doing, Greg?
Good. How about yourself, Ozzy?
You know, it was interesting. I couldn't take a video of this the other day. I was in East LA, and I can't remember exactly which intersection it was. But there was someone on a unicycle juggling at red lights. And
Yes.
I wanted to take video of it, but I knew that this was a red light, so he probably has a routine all planned out because I've seen him before, but never like right in front of me. But I totally lucked out when I saw this yellow light happen at this intersection. I got excited because I saw him in the corner, like, I'll just wait at this red light here, or this, I'll stand here. And so he had like this 20-second routine where he's on a unicycle juggling. You would have dug it. But
That's awesome.
I had two options. I said, I can tip him some money or I can film him. I would feel better if I can give him some money instead because I have a limited amount of time. But I got to find out what that intersection is for sure. And I will update the fantastic individuals out there on this location of this unicycler juggler hybrid. Also with us, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's next to one of the metro stations. Not like the major metro, but like, the streetcar metro stations. I got to figure that out for sure. Also with us, ladies and gentlemen, Flesh Wound producer Todd. How you doing, Todd?
Good. The producer in me says you should have got the footage to plan the show over giving him money, but that's just me.
Although it does make sense that he's by a metro station because most jugglers can't afford cars. So,
although when I came back around the intersection, I was kind of nervous that he was kind of going to target me out and like be in front of my car again. So I would feel obligated to tip him again and thought about what happens if he does this, but it didn't work out. I think he was actually going to McDonald's or something to get some food. It was his lunch break.
We gave him some money. Yeah.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, this week we will be reviewing and discussing the 1985 film Just One of the Guys, released on April 26th, specifically of 1985. Todd, do you have a trailer available?
Yes, sir.
Cherry's a girl who wanted to be taken seriously.
I am going to be a reporter.
But her body kept getting in the way.
Pretty girl, you could be a model.
Sometimes I just wish I were a guy.
No, you don't. The male body needs sex at all times. It's a living hell.
So to prove to the men in her life she had a mind, Cherry decided to try life as a guy.
How do I look?
Dashing.
My zipper's open.
That was the dashing part.
What a farce. Dresses like Elvis Costello. Looks like the Karate Kid. I'm gonna get him.
Today's woman has the freedom to be just as sick and perverted as us guys.
She learned their secrets.
I have surprise jock inspections 3 times a week. A word to the wise.
And dated their women.
Yeah, but I got this one rule. I never go out with girls who say bitchin'.
Now the question is,
What's going on?
Wait, it gets better.
can a girl tell the boy she loves
Terry's such a stallion. Go on, show me your hairy chest.
she's you think she is?
Wait a minute, are those what I think they are?
Yep, it's one of a kind. My bro.
Just one of the guys.
Just confused.
Of course you're confused. You're wearing my underwear.
That was the trailer again for Just One of the Guys, released on April 26, 1985, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 100 minutes, directed by Lisa Gottlieb, story by Dennis Feldman, with a screenplay written by Feldman as well as Jeff Franklin. Initial thoughts on this? I had never seen it, never even heard of it, but
Took you 40 years. 40 years.
40 years to get around to it, but I must say I was pleasantly surprised.
Wow. I didn't know how this was going to go.
Because I will say this, this had like kind of an element of, it just a tiny bit reminded me a little bit of Mrs. Doubtfire, right?
Well,
in the sense of like the reason of going through that transformation was something like a little bit deeper, and you kind of saw like how she felt at the beginning. So having a sensible path to what happened.
To give it the best description, this is teenage Tootsie.
There you go. That's which is even referenced in the movie. Who do you think you are, Tootsie? Which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Also kind of funny. It's mentioned the line, the Karate Kid line, is also in the film as well, not just the trailer. Especially how we have William Zabka. I did forget to go over the starring cast. My apologies. Joyce Heiser in the starring role. Clayton Roner. My bad, not Boner, of course. Roner and Billy Jane, which, by the way, is very interesting seeing that individual, Billy Jane, the guy who plays the little brother, specifically because I know we reviewed this a long time ago, not another teen movie. Yeah. The little brother in that movie, played by Cody McMains, the casting on that must have made like the director look like this brother here, because you could put them up side by side, and it's almost like that brother was trying to be a caricature of this specific character, right? So that was just more things like clicking, right? In terms of that, but it was.
I don't think that's the last time this month we're going to reference not another teen movie.
That's true, right? But I mean, I know that it's currently Pride Month out there, and we stand with everybody who wants to be whatever they want to be. That's cool. But we kind of had a little bit of this discussion before we started recording, how this being released now would be different, but I think it would still, I think it could actually be remade and do much better today than it did then.
Probably.
Because it seems that, well, actually not too long ago, we reviewed White Chicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about, that couldn't be done today because, the jokes in it wouldn't translate well today. However, if you watch that movie, and I was watching with a 2025 mind, not that fairly innocent and lighthearted for the most part. Now one's got to say there's this kind of double standard, because if there is a guy pretending to be a woman in the women's locker room and he was checking them out, then it'd be like, oh, that's whatever. But that wasn't truly like, she didn't make it. It didn't make it look like she was looking at all these guys, which would have made things equally creepy. She kind of started for one guy, but still, if you go back and be like, oh, you saw them when they were naked and without their permission, XYZ. But when it goes to the teen comedy, it's almost like just balancing. Now, I understand I've seen some feedback that I shouldn't be upset at the film Private School. So I'm going to try to keep my calm here. But when you look at something as ridiculous as some stuff that happens in other movies, and I'm not trying to be, angry. I'm not trying to be angry here, but
I'm not trying. It just comes naturally.
No, it's true. It does come naturally. So this is actually me being subdued right now. So whoever put down that feedback, understand that I'm taking that feedback into consideration. All right. And I'm really, really trying to keep my cool here. But the ridiculousness that you saw of Private School, of these individuals dressing up as girls to go in the sorority house, it just kind of balanced things out a little bit. And it was also much more like, it wasn't for the purpose of gratuitous nudity, right? Even though there was a flash towards the end, and I had no idea while a 13-year-old was sitting on the couch and revealed. I'm there at the table.
I was like, oh no.
I'm at the table, and my eyes just pop out of my head, and I don't even look at him. I don't want to make eye contact with him at this point. I just be like, you were not supposed to see that. Erase that memory from your head. And he just got the switch too, so he's just looking down like, don't worry, I was on the switch. I didn't see anything.
It's PG-13. For future references, I thought about that about an hour before we recorded. So if there's accidentally boobs in a PG-13, I'll give you a heads up for future reference.
I appreciate that. Now, if I see it before you,
if it's an 80s flick and it's PG-13, it's gonna have boobs.
Yeah, you get one set. I think that's a good rule.
Okay.
I know you're prepared for Disorderlies, but
oh man, Disorderlies is so great. We can't wait to review that. I'm sorry. Let's get back to this here. But in terms of the whole idea of
It's like putting yourself in someone
journalist.
else's skin. So it's like it does have a good message. I mean, looking at it from the other perspective.
And what I really did like about, and like if I could just go even deeper, I know this is like a comedy, but it's a little bit more depth here, is that when the article was provided after she was a man, just assuming like, oh, if I was a man, they would just choose this article, no problem. But after her getting criticisms after turning in that article as a man, then it kind of like added some more depth to it. And then the article that she ended up writing at the end just kind of like made for a better story. And plus, when you have William Zabka as the bully for the high school, I think that's going to be a favorite of anybody. Like as soon as he popped up, I was immediately in a good mood, right? Because he's one of these perfect like teen villains, because a classic from Karate Kid, right?
He wasn't the villain in the original Karate Kid.
Yes, he was the Karate Kid. Get it correct.
Okay. Not primary antagonist.
Why would the Karate Kid be the guy who did Karate Kid for like 3 weeks instead of the guy who dedicated his entire life to karate?
That's what makes him the Karate Kid, is that he only needed 3 weeks to become the Karate Kid.
He's the bully who shows up to town and goes after William Zabka's girlfriend. See, the computer just froze you because it doesn't want to hear your BS.
Oh. Okay. All right. Well,
I can't control the internet. I only
cross that bridge when we get to it. Going back to this one here, I totally took a lot from my initial thoughts here. Who wants to go next?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. Like, I hadn't heard of this film, hadn't seen it. So it was interesting to dive into. And where you had mentioned the point of, the character turned in the essay the second time as a guy, I was curious. I was like, okay, so like, do you go back now? Like, what happens now? Like, and I'm glad they gave a reason for staying within that character throughout the rest of the film. So, I wasn't sure what to feel or what to think going into this. I mean, 80s films are always kind of fun and chill to go into. They tend to be a nice, relaxing flick. But I mean, I wouldn't say I had anything like against it. It wasn't like, oh man, this is gonna make my rotation. But it was definitely, it surprised me is I think the best way to say it of how fun it was.
And Todd?
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. I tend to watch it every few years. I was excited when it finally hit Blu-ray. It was a big deal. So it's just one of those that I've watched over and over the last 40 years. It was one of those HBO ones that was in rotation, and I, started young on it. And yeah.
I can see this as being something that, and now Todd, you've seen it multiple times. I just get a sense that this is one of those movies that the more you see, the more you appreciate.
Yeah, I think so.
Or the more you enjoy. I mean, and I know I mentioned the Mrs. Doubtfire similarity, but there's a scene specifically towards the end of the movie where Robin Williams is going back and forth between the family's table and the boss, right? And has to keep switching. And it was funny to have her getting ready for a date. And then all of a sudden the girl that has a crush on her comes up and the brother's just setting her up. She doesn't even know it, right?
Yeah.
And so they got to do that switch. That's funny to see, right? And
that was a pretty popular 80s trope too. You saw it in a lot of the back and forth sitcoms, Three's Company, Dr. Detroit even has that. We don't see that trope anymore. It is fun though when we do.
It's fun to see, and also those moments where you're going through this adventure with her. We're like, and then when you get to the gym class, and then yells shirts versus skins. And she just looks around and then just starts writhing in pain. And at this point, I'm like, okay, yeah, like, but the gym teacher's going to be like, you got to dress anyway. But the fact how the character stayed committed to it, was just screaming in pain, like she had a kidney stone or something. I like that, right? And it was just fun. It was fun to see.
Although, maybe my high school was different, but like, there was no jockstrap checking.
Right.
That sounded like a little creepy.
Well, it was, 85. So I don't know if they they did that in the early 80s.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was just a line thrown in there just for kind of like, oh, what's going to happen here? But going into the favorite moments was actually more like my favorite line that made me laugh the most was actually very kind of auxiliary, didn't matter much to the story. It was just when the brother's on the phone and then ends with, same to you, butt face, hangs up the phone and turns to mom says hi. That was the last thing I was expecting and just put it over the moon for me. So fantastic on that, like just setup and delivery. It was excellent. I loved that. What about you guys?
I mean, the brother honestly had the most comedic moments. And there was a time when someone knocked on the door and he was like, what are the odds of this being a homeless nymphomaniac? That was such a random line. I loved it. It caught me off guard.
Todd?
Yeah, I mean, the brother is probably my favorite character, but Terry pretending to her brother's room is hers when Sherilyn Finn shows up and it started like that whole scene gets me. But I think it's the line at the end, the what if you're lying? What if I'm not, about the half naked girl in his room? Because as a teenage boy that age, it's like it's the risk I'm gonna take.
Yes.
It's almost as though with the brother being the constant kind of goof, silly character, it allowed the main character to kind of be more true to the role and just play it straight, or like play like a poor choice of words, but more so play the character, just like not try to be over the top comedic, but just trying to be a girl who's passing off as a guy and doesn't need to try to, be hokey or funny with these jokes. That was all there for the brother to do, to kind of like remind you every 5 seconds. No, this is a comedy. We can laugh about this. It's okay. Because you see that if you really break it down, she feels that true prejudice, right? Because of her gender, which is a serious aspect, but the way it was presented and its tone kind of made it so you want to see them succeed. You want to see her get that article in there. You want to see her accomplish the goal, and you just want to see what happens. But having that brother there allows like just for those more comedic moments of just laughing. Because I don't know if this is why the director of Not Another Teen Movie cast that one kid to play the brother, because that was what he had in mind. But wow, just funny stuff. Just I can't not think of those two similarities now every time I see this movie. But going into the ratings, while it wasn't strong enough to make one of my rotations, I would say I would not be surprised if it made my rotation later. Like, I don't know if it'll take 2, 3, or 4 times, but I can imagine after a certain viewing, I'll just be like, no, we're going to throw this on. Like, just have it on in the background. Mess around with Legos,
tell the kid to close your eyes. Okay.
Okay. Wait. Okay. Close. Okay. Now you can open them. And then, it might have been the first time he's heard the word tits.
I don't think
like they were throwing like
possible. That's I don't know.
2025.
My kid's not that old yet. So
yeah.
So they were throwing the word tits around, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't ask his mom what tits are.
I think you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Listen, it's 2025. Like
different time. It's a different time.
All I know
much different time.
Ozzy, I hope you go into. I know I botched, especially where I'm going to. Sorry. Let me try this again. Ozzy, I hope you have this much of an open mind when we cover Soul Man next year.
I loved Soul Man. Well, I mean, I saw it when I was like 7 years old, and that was the last time I saw it. So might be a little bit different this time.
You'll 5-star guaranteed.
Well, going into the ratings, as I was gonna finish off there, currently not one that's gonna make my rotation. However, I can see it gained some traction, but still an overall fun movie that paced well. You had a vested interest in these characters, and for me, it was a solid 3.5.
Yeah,
to start out, I can see that improving over time for sure.
I can see that. This wouldn't be one, like I said, making like a rotation, but like if it was on TV and I was like, oh, I could keep this on, that would definitely be a situation for me. I did have fun. The humor was fun. The story was fun. I liked the fact that the brother's name was Buddy, and he was definitely a lot like Bud Bundy. It really hit home on that. And yeah, but I'm gonna go with the 3. I did have fun. Nothing wrong with the film. Just I think because I'm watching it in 2025 and older films kind of pace a little slower, and there's no nostalgia with it. It might be why it brought down a little bit.
All right. Well, full disclosure, mine will have a nostalgia boost. I do love this movie. It's a childhood favorite. I'm a 5 out of 5. And Ralph Macchio didn't have a set like that. What am I gonna say?
It's fair. It's fair.
That is another one of the most paused scenes, from if you read it, you'd tend to have problems in that part of the tape.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
and
pretty
Fast
funny.
Time. Yeah.
That is pretty funny. So I would just like to share, if you would like to stream this movie, it is currently not available to stream.
No, it's on Tubi. It's on Tubi.
Tubi?
Ads. Yeah.
I see it on Prime with ads via our friends at justwatch.com. I don't know. I'm saying
I'm going off of Amazon or IMDb, so maybe it hasn't updated.
There you go. But of course, you got most of the Prime stuff with ads, unless you pay the bonus $3 or $4 per month in addition. But if the premise sounds like fun, sorry, go ahead.
No, I did confirm it is on Tubi.
Okay, it is on Tubi. If the idea of a journalist woman in high school believes if she was a man, her article would get through, and has that time as a man, if the plot interests you, piques your interest, you're going to enjoy this movie. If you hear it and you want to be angry, you're not going to like this movie. So I think that's a good gauge indicator. I don't know if you guys would agree. I think if somebody was instantaneously heard this and be like, oh, that doesn't sound like fun, or would look for something to pick at, they're not going to have fun with this.
I have to say, I'm kind of surprised. I wasn't sure we were going to land, so I had a threat for the end, but now it's not a threat. But maybe it still is. There is a 1993 remake starring Nicole Eggert and Corey Haim called Just One of the Girls. With Corey Haim in the lead doing the
what's the reason here that
I haven't watched it in so many years, so we'll save that in the back burner for one day.
He doesn't prove he's a guy at the end, though, does he?
I don't know. Yes.
You're not a guy. Watch
the Haggard Brain scene. Yes, that's one of the many favorites in the Corey Haim filmography.
Well, maybe we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Maybe that might be one we'll review in the future. I guess it all depends on what's the reason for him needing to be, just one of the girls. If it's just to see some tits, then yeah, it's probably going to annoy me. But, I guess if there's something...
He's trying to escape his bully by dressing up as a girl.
Okay.
All right, that's the reaction I was expecting on this one. So we got that one in the chamber then too.
But you see that you understand the differences. You understand the differences. Like one, there's oh, she feels oppressed. The other one's like, I want to be this movie. I want to see this movie.
Oh, and it's in the 90s, so it's going to be tasteless. So it's going to be great. This
right,
is what I wanted for the first one.
We have our ratings. Greg a 3, myself a 3.5, a 5 from Todd. If the premise entices you, you're going to enjoy it. Feel free to check that out if you do come across it. If you are in the Orange County area this week, I'll be hosting trivia at the Rush Barn Grill in Lake Forest beginning at 7 o'clock, and this Wednesday at the Brewery in Placentia, also at 7 o'clock. Both nights free to play and prizes for the top winning teams. You guys have anything else before we head out for the evening?
No.
Actually, I do have one more announcement. This Saturday at the La Mirada UFC gym, Todd and I will be not available, but we'll be there. I'll be providing commentary services for 3PWA. Todd will be there providing his filming services. You can stop by, say hi.
Productions in full effect.
I understand how filming services sounds weird immediately after it left my mouth. Todd will be there if you want to say hi. I'll be there if you want to say hi. Come check it out. And Greg, do you have anything before we head out for the evening? Todd, do you have anything else before we head out for the evening?
Nope, you got it.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this review. We'll be back next week with a brand new review, and it is summertime, so we're going to keep going with the summertime theme. We have Can't Hardly Wait coming up next, so feel free to see us next week, and we'll be back on a brand new episode of Flesh Wound Farce.